to the second info session on the I3 instrument call to be on capacity building. So this is a second info session because we had already one a year ago for the first call. Now for the call that opened 10 days ago. This is immediately we have our info session to inform you about the call, about the way how to prepare your proposal. And my pleasure is to be here today with you. Before, however, we start, let's start with a few housekeeping rules. I'm Denisa Perrin. I'm the head of the unit EU and place-based innovation ecosystems in the ASME agency. And I have the pleasure to walk you through the day. For the housekeeping rules, please, automatically the microphone and your camera are switched off. Please know that the meeting is recorded, and if you don't wish your name to appear in the recording, please make sure to submit your question in Slido as anonymous. I will come back to that later. Slides and recording of this meeting will be available on the event page, and we will send you all the information by email. And the camera is also our speakers will have the camera, so only the person who is speaking will be on the camera. On the next slide, you will get the QR code on for the Slido session. The code of the Slido session is I3 instrument, and you can already now start asking your questions. We will answer them at the end of the day. We will be together more or less until midday. We have quite a row of speakers. First of all, I will give a floor to Catherine Wendt, who is the head of unit in our parent DG Regio, and she will walk you through the key policy consideration and will give you a warm welcome as well. Over to you, Catherine.
Good morning, Denisa. Good morning, colleagues. I'm very happy to be here with you again. Indeed, we've had an information day last year, but we wanted to come back to you again to give you the opportunity to have another exchange and to ask your questions when you have them. As Denisa said, it's a very packed and a rich agenda today. The colleagues, Denisa and her team, have organised the info day with your needs in mind. And our goal today is very simple, which is to help you submit successful applications for this new round of the I3 instrument capacity building support. Let me take a step back to the rationale for the I3 instrument and for our focus on capacity building. This is the innovation divide, which continues amongst European regions. And we believe that addressing this is essential to Europe's competitiveness. No region can afford to let its innovation potential lie idle. I also want to put the I3 instrument in a wider policy context. This is always linked to the importance of reinforcing the innovation ecosystem in the less developed regions. So firstly, the importance of making strong connections between the I3 instrument with other parts of cohesion policy, and in particular the European Regional Development Fund, the ERDF. Of course, the I3 is part of the ERDF regulation. But the ERDF support to enhancing innovation diffusion and interregional cooperation can help further strengthen the dissemination and exploitation of your projects. So we strongly encourage you to explore options beyond and after your projects so that there can be more lasting effects. Secondly, with this call, we're continuing our joint work within the framework of other initiatives, such as the communication on harnessing talents in Europe's regions, where the I3 instrument represents one of the pillars of the talent booster mechanism. So in this call, and in the calls for projects under strands 1 and 2A of I3, due consideration is also given to projects that promote the participation of the EU's outermost regions. The outermost regions have unique potential and distinctive assets. And when it comes to innovation building and interregional cooperation, these regions can bring added value to I3 projects. Lastly, in this broader policy context, the support given under this call, like that for projects under Strand 1 and 2A that have recently been closed, contributes to the support committed from I3 in the new European Innovation Agenda and its flagship 3 on strengthening innovation ecosystems across the EU. To conclude, This call is designed to create a considerable positive impact by strengthening European value chains in less developed regions and by bridging the innovation divide. We hope that the day will be a success, and we hope that the call will be a success. Today, I wish you an information-rich morning. Thank you very much and good luck.
Thank you. Thank you, Catherine, for the welcome, and thank you also for giving us a bit the wider policy context, and it really shows how important this call is. And Birgit Weidel, our head of department, will continue along these lines also in the terms of how of the agency. Thank you. Over to you, Birgit.
Thank you very much, Denise, and thank you very much, Catherine, for explaining a bit of policy background. Yeah, let me also say good morning and welcome to you on behalf of ASMEA, the executive agency that is responsible for implementing the I3 project, the I3 instrument. So as we've heard from Catherine, it's really here about the bridging the gap, about the divide. So as you know, the actions that are supported in this call, in this capacity building call, will test and implement new approaches for increasing the capacity of regional innovation ecosystems in less developed regions to collaborate in new value chains. In addition, these actions will also facilitate interregional cooperation between actors in regional innovation ecosystems with the specific aim to make them fit to participate in the calls under the other two strands of the interregional innovation investment instruments, the strands 1 and 2A. So the guiding principle behind this call is to offer support to all stakeholders and all actors of regional innovation ecosystems. That includes small and medium enterprises, research infrastructures, clusters, innovation agencies, managing authorities, and other organizations that are operating in fields like business development, territorial cooperation, or innovation. So in this respect, we have also been very pleased to see a very strong interest in these activities. For the first call that we published for the Strand B 1 year ago, we received 44 proposals. And after the evaluation, I mean, 24 of them really scored above the threshold. So really a very good quality of proposals that we have received. And we are happy to announce that we are currently about to sign 9 grants for more than 13 million euros. The successful applicants are coming from more than 50 different regions. All of the 9 projects have requested between 1 and 1.5 million for the project. They will run approximately for 2 years, and they are on average composed between 7 to 15 partners. These projects provide support and coordination in the following thematic core areas of the I3 instrument. This is ICT and digitalization, clean technologies and hydrogen, environment and bioeconomy, healthcare and life sciences, agri-food and food packaging, circular economy, the maritime and blue economy, and in the plastics industry. And I'm very confident and hopeful that also in this new round, we will see another increase in the number of proposals. And I encourage everybody to continue with the same energy and innovation to develop new, innovative and high quality proposals in order to identify and to bring together the diverse strengths of our European regions. So let me briefly recall the elements that you should keep in mind for your proposals. You should present projects that help creating and maturing interregional innovation projects in shared smart specialization areas. Your project should aim to facilitate the validation process of investment ideas through improved knowledge of business and investment planning. It shall identify and address gaps and business opportunities for reinforcing value chains or for creating new ones. And your proposal should encourage also the active involvement of companies and the civil society alongside public administrations and other quadruple helix stakeholders. So I encourage you to take a look at at our successful projects so far when preparing your actions. We have just had one call, as I mentioned, but as I said, with high quality proposals, and they cover a very wide range of regions and different thematic areas. And you will also have the opportunity today to listen to a testimonial from a successful project later on in the morning. Finally, let me also use this opportunity to quickly present to you another component of our support measures under the I3 instrument, the I3 support facility. It will take up its duties in the first quarter of 2024. The capacity building hub, as the central node of the support facility, will assist the ERDF managing authorities and public bodies responsible for innovation or smart specialization in the creation and promotion of I3 projects. It will facilitate networking and exchange of good practices among all interested innovation stakeholders by running a matchmaking platform and by organizing physical events. And it will provide tools to identify and provide expertise to mature I3 consortia in developing their business case. And last but not least, this facility will also foster cooperation in dissemination and information activities with the smart specialization community of practice and with S3 partnerships belonging to the S3 platforms. So as you can see, this facility will offer quite an interesting range of services that can be of interest to you. And now close here. I wish you a very informative and beneficial day, and we look forward to receiving your proposals. Thank you very much. I'm handing over to Tomislav, I think, from Regio.
Yes. Thank you, Birgit. And exactly before we delve into the details of the call, still let's please take a step back and give the floor to Tomislav from the parent DG Regio, who will a bit explain how the I3 instrument, and especially this call, how it fits into the wider context of cohesion policy, because this is, let to be reminded here, that the I3 instrument is a part of cohesion policy, which is a bit specific because usually cohesion policy is managed a bit differently. Over to you, Tomislav. Thank you.
Thank you, Denise. Yes, indeed. I'll begin by setting the stage for our discussion on this call by highlighting its significance in relation to cohesion policy challenges. As we know, European regions are at a very different stages of economic development. Some are lagging behind, some are leading the way. Our policy's core objective is to address these disparities in regional development to foster territorial, economic and social cohesion. And, of course, innovation is the key element for this. But the fact is that many regions have low institutional capabilities that act as a brake on science and innovation uptake, especially in less developed, transition and outermost regions. There is a potential in every region for uptake of innovation, but it's crucial to know where this potential lies. And here you will see this clearly in this call. Our main focus is on collaboration and active involvement of small and medium-sized enterprises, but this support is in a way specific as it comes with the precondition of building on value chain participation and effective implementation of smart specialization strategies. Next slide, please. And now to the main point. If you want to know what's new in this call compared to the one launched in December, here are a few points that are, among many other elements, slightly redrafted to make our message clear and precise. In developing this call, our foundation was the 23-24 I3 instrument work program. And this should also be your starting point if you want to capture the slight nuances that will give your project much needed advantage. I also want to thank the IFRI expert group, which consists of the representatives of member states and different EU umbrella organizations. Brainstorming sessions at our meetings and their valuable contribution helped us to shape this call in the form you have in front of you. As we did with previous calls, including the first one on capacity building, participation of outermost regions is also welcomed, as well as focus on specific challenges within these regions. And what is the key message of the call? I would say it's to think outside of the box. Your projects should serve as a good example of policy experimentation, leading the way to improve capacity for interregional cooperation. Also, while you are still in the implementation phase, think about who else might benefit from your project and be ready to think about what will happen after your project is finished. Next slide. And what does the future hold for each of us? For us, this is a great chance to learn from your experience in implementation to make these future steps even better. We have already heard from Birgit about how, as of next year, the IFRI support facility will start. We will continue along the lines of the current work program and deliver new calls for these main so-called investment strands to bring further support to existing and new value chains. And finally, with the new year just around the corner, this is the right time to start thinking about the near future and already third IFRI work program. This will be our chance to experiment based on experience and to deliver the new set of IFRI calls. Next slide. Allow me just one more remark here at the end. As capacity building is in the IFRI instrument serves to provide coordination and support to interregional innovation ecosystems, one way, and a very good way, to keep this momentum and to ensure exploitation is to join the S3 community of practice and one of the almost 40 partnerships among the S3 thematic platforms, or taking it a step further, form a new partnership. You can find all the info at the link provided on this slide. And just before I finish, just one remark. Yesterday, I had the opportunity to join remotely one of the kickoff meetings. It was for the StarRise capacity building project, one of the projects from our last call. It was great to see that the first meeting already extended beyond the project members and included a workshop with local stakeholders taking place on the Canary Islands and hosted by a partner from the outermost region. It brought together policymakers, business representatives, and experts to explore challenges and opportunities in the field of food and logistic, what is important for them. And with this, I will conclude my session. I'll now hand it back to Denisa and ISMEA colleagues for the next part of our presentation. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Tomislav and colleagues for this introduction, because I think this is extremely useful for us to have this background, to be able to better understand why and how the call was drafted and set up in a way it is done, because this is extremely useful. We are running more or less ahead of time so far. So colleagues Michael Bertz and Eric Hanksmith, who are the call coordinators for this call, have around an hour to walk you through really the thinking behind this call, how it is drafted, what are the call requirements. And Michael will start, and he will hand later on to Eric. Thanks a lot.
Yes. Good morning, everybody. Thank you very much so far. Thank you very much, Denisa. Yes, my name is Michael Bertz. I started in this sector and this unit 2 years ago. We have a little bit of time, so let's have a little bit closer look on this Strand 2B. I'm sure most of you already had a look at the call document, and some of you already participated a year ago when we launched the first call to be. And today we have a little bit of time to also give you more more insight in concrete to be project. So later today, we will have the pleasure to welcome Nico from the to be project grid. This is quite fresh, meaning we just signed it this week. Congratulations again. And there you will really see in practice what is behind all the call conditions, the thematic priorities we describe, the actions we describe, the outcome we expect. So please stay. I will go through some more formal aspects regarding this call. It's the second time we launched a to be call. 2 years ago already, we started with Strand 1 and 2A. Grants are running already a year. We already signed now the grants from the last cut off. So new Strand 1 and 2A project are starting. And we also had just a month ago the deadline for this year's Strand 1 and 2A calls, meaning that we just finished the admissibility eligibility check, and we are starting with the evaluation of the proposals. Here, this is just a slide to give you big overview. I think it's clear. There's always this title, what is behind to be, to increase the capacity of regional innovation ecosystem in less developed regions. When we talk about less developed regions, as already pointed out, we talk about, or we include also regions with specific challenges or outermost regions, etc. And of course, when we say for whom, it's not what is behind the region. It's about the quadruple helix, the stakeholders of the regional innovation ecosystem. This, of course, includes public administration, so mainly the management authorities, mainly regional, or then also national managing authorities. Of course, the research and academia industry. Here again, our focus, as you know, from Strand 1 and 2A is on the SMEs, on the small, medium sized enterprises, and of course, on the end users. Again, this, you know, it's implemented under direct management. So here the DG Regio is the parent DG behind, but we as ASMEA are entrusted with the implementation of the I3 instrument. The budget for this call, you see, this is maybe new to you. We talk about 26 million euro. You might remember last year it was just half of that. Here, this is because we have now the work program 23-24. And we have foreseen for this to be called 2 cut off. So this is already a very important information. That means the call is open and it will stay open for more or less a year. And we will then have 2 cut-offs. So if you don't make it for the first cutoff, I think in February, we'll have a look at the timeline later. You can all then participate at the second cutoff. This is also important, as we have seen in the past. Sometimes we receive very high quality proposals, but then for the one or the other condition, be it the consortium composition or a missing support letter, the proposal is not eligible. So then you have to the chance to submit still under the same call for the second cutoff. This we had very a positive example in the past, especially under Strand 1 and 2A. Just this small information for you. With this, we go to the next slide. Thank you very much. So the challenge and the expected impact, of course, what is the overall challenge here? That we see that the less developed regions are facing different challenges and obstacles linked to innovation, building, and diffusion. But what does it What does it mean? It means that we see already when we ask for Strand 1 and 2A proposals that the stakeholders from the less developed regions have more difficulties not only to design a project or to participate, but also to identify the strength of their ecosystem, to identify and support the regional companies. So they are facing different challenges and obstacles linked to the innovation building and diffusion, and often experience therefore difficulties in building institutional and legal environments conducive to innovation. The instrument, as you well understand, is under cohesion policy. So that means we want to encourage regions and EU member states to enhance existing European value chains and or develop new ones in less developed regions. These value chains focus on strategic areas that then can create jobs and foster growth. And as Tomislav already pointed out, behind the approach are the smart specialization strategies developed by member states and regions, which identify their strengths in business, research, and innovation. So their three is a place-based approach, so meaning or including the or basing on the analysis of the potential of the local economy and supported by the so-called entrepreneurial discovery process as a bottom-down approach. So helping or aiming for the identification of strategic areas for intervention. The instrument now aims to create linkages for interregional collaboration by helping consortia consisting of innovation actors from the so-called quadruple helix to combine S3 priorities with EU strategic priorities. And with this, we try to strengthen local ecosystem and innovation diffusion. And as you have seen, the instrument, when we talk about grants, consists of three different strands. So the strand 1 that I just mentioned targets consortia of innovation actors from regions of different levels of development and innovation performance, with shared or complementary S3 areas, which are ready to make investments in interregional innovation projects. Then, as we talk about today about 2B, there's of course a 2A. And the 2A strand focus on supporting interregional innovation investments, aiming at developing value chains in less developed regions and reinforcing the integration of innovation actors in EU value chains. So what is then the expected impact from the so-called 2B? So we want to connect the regional innovation ecosystem externally in order to allow them then to define areas for co-investment along interregional value chains. This includes the identification of then companies willing to co-invest. This is a kind of the output of the 2B. So with this, we try to increase capacities of less developed regions to deliver concrete regional innovation investment within EU value chains, but not it's about the preparation. So to put it in a simple sentence, the 2B is there to prepare regional innovation ecosystem or their stakeholders to participate successfully in Strand 1 and 2A projects. With this, we go please to the next slide. Let's have a look at the general objectives. So here again, we already talked about the support and building and reinforcing innovative and resilient ecosystem and connecting the regional innovation ecosystem externally. This includes, of course, the optimization of the relevant local administrative structures and processes, and to strengthen the structures, the relations among stakeholders of a quadruple helix ecosystem. So already to reply of some of the questions we received during, or I remember, for example, from kickoff meetings from other projects. So we see strong interest in this exercise. Birgit pointed out the high number received for the last call. We are sure that this number will increase, and we all so see that the participation of the less developed regions in this instrument is increasing. And one of these questions I think it's quite interesting for all of you is that we have a Strand 1 to a project, and then some of these project or coordinators see that there's a increasing interest of stakeholders outside the project to participate. This can be, I had it last week, project Digital Health, and then we see increasing interest from other hospitals in less developed regions to participate. And then the idea is, okay, but can we then now design a to-be project to bring the hospitals in the project? So it's about the capacity building, of course. It's but of course there's no, as a rule, we'll talk later, keep in mind, no double funding. So we cannot fund the same thing twice. But this is just an example what we see in the ongoing project. So this is just from the digital healthcare sector. Keep this in mind. But I like the idea behind very much. And as pointed out, we have the strong link to the S3 strategies. This brings me to the second questions we read this morning, and I saw that some of you already had a look at both core documents, so and they see what we said a year ago in the 2B and what we say now as a condition. And one of the conditions is that you submit, all the mandatory documents, and the so-called famous letter of support is one of the mandatory documents. Keep this in mind. This is just a detail, but it's really, really important, because if you don't have it, if you don't submit it in time with the deadline, the proposal is not eligible. And why is there a difference? Because now we see that there are 3 strategies that are in place. So your regional, or in some cases national managing authorities, are well aware of the local regional S3 strategy. So there's no need for any more delay. And we ask this support letter from all regions represented in the consortium. So don't do it in the last week. This takes time. Maybe you need some support to identify the correct managing authority. This is also important, and also they need time to reply. And it's there's another aspect I like to mention, because there's always the discussion, why do we need that? We need it also because it's requested also by your managing authority, because for them it's more or less the only way also to understand and see what kind of IS3 project are being implemented in their region. So there's interest for that on both sides. So don't forget that. With this, we go to the next slide, please. Yes, here to put on one slide all the 3 strands I just mentioned. So now we talk about 2B, but below that you see the strand 1, the strand 2A. Here we talk really about the financial advisory support support for investments in I3 projects. And you see there still, we have our 3 thematic priorities. This is green, this is digital, smart manufacturing. But what does it mean for your 2B project? It means that we see very different projects and proposals, meaning we see projects for or including or asking for a smaller amount of funding, maybe around just €500,000, and we see many projects are asking for higher budgets up to 1.5 million, as we have a 100% funding rate. That this you can translate directly project costs into eligible project costs into EU grant at the end, more or less. We have financial experts later. What I want to say is you don't have to go automatically always for the highest budget. But most of the projects we see now, as pointed out by Birgit, are between 1.2 and 1.5 million euro and are running for the maximum of allowed time. This is up to 24 months. But we also see smaller projects, and this means also, this refers also to the size of the consortium. So we have really very high quality proposals that include only one more developed and one less developed regions. But we have many proposals, they include more or less developed regions and more developed regions, so bigger consortium. Everything is possible. So don't think that you have to always have to sorry, to the biggest proposal bringing a high number. So everything is allowed. We see the consortium composition later. And regarding the topics or the mathematic priorities in general, this slide is interesting because on the right side below you have this link with this core project results, funding, tenders. This is a hyperlink, and it brings you to the funding and tenders portal, because here we are in the area of e-grants and all our calls are published there. But it's not only that we have all the calls published there, we also have all the background documents. We also have the legal documents. We also have the templates. We have a kind of model grant agreement. So it's not about the call document. Go to the portal and look out for the other documents. But I would like to mention this link now because there's a link to the project, to the ongoing project, to all the grants signed, including Strand 1 to A and the ongoing 2B project. So if you go to the funding portal, tender portal, you already can see the consortia of ongoing 2B proposals, including the coordinator, including the different consortium partners. And also a very important function here is that there's a partner search function. So you can see there stakeholders interested or entities interested in a participation in a consortium, or you also see entities offering participation in proposals and then hopefully grants and projects. This is why I want to highlight this very interesting link. This is also the page where we have the dedicated F and Q Q&A, the frequently asked answers, questions and answers, FQA. And we have a function in mailbox, but we try then to reply to your questions always in time. Please understand, as we have different conditions in different calls, we have to be very careful. That's meaning we have to check the already published FAQ for other calls if they are still valid for the new call, and then there's always a new aspect. But believe me, we are working on that, and this is updated and is the main information tool. Next slide, please. Yes, this brings up a little bit to the more specific objective of the call. And first thing, proposals shall aim to facilitate the validation process of investment ideas to improve knowledge of business investment planning. And then talk about the so-called preconditions for interregional cooperation and investment in S3. Okay, but behind that, we talk about the experimentation of new approaches to deliver validated solutions and good practices. So this is the first important point. You know, the investment projects are under Strand 1 and 2A, and there are many actions that are not eligible under Strand 1 and 2A, and this is exactly about the experimentation of new approaches, the matchmaking, the exchange of best practices, etc. And this is that what we need under the call to be. So to increase the capacity to engage in interregional innovation processes, to involve the actors, in particular the SMEs, and to have this kind of impact, well described before, of the project on less developed regions. The next slide, please. Again, the themes and priorities. You are all familiar with the left column. Let's have a look at the right column, but here we will not lose too much time to talk about what you see in the call text well explained. So I repeat here just the creation, the bullet point, the creation, the reinforcement of interregional innovation resilient ecosystem, clear. To support the company engagement and the preparation for future investment project. Let's put it this way. The investment readiness, the capacity to build then interregional business cases. Of course, also the exploring the use of technical assistance from mainstream programs to structure and reinforce the local ecosystems internally. So, for example, identification of specific challenges to address fragmentation, identification of the innovation potential, ecosystem building and animation, company involvement, putting in place then the right framework condition based on best practices identified. And of course, to connect the regions with other ecosystems, reinforcing the connection with relevant platforms and EU networks. So it's also about what is already there and then identified and connected, mobilizing the ecosystem in the framework of S3 partnerships. And with this, we go to the next slide, please. Thank you. Here, look at the title. We say here it's core actions, meaning we have in the core document, we ask for core actions and we ask for support actions. And in your proposal, you need to cover both. So don't just have a look, for example, at support actions and focus on them. Be sure that you address the, not all, but some of the important core actions described in the call text. And here we divided this part into different pillars. So the first pillar for the so-called core action is titled ecosystem building and connection. So focus is here on the development of S3-based roadmaps to strengthen the regions. And when we talk about regions, we talk about the quadruple helix stakeholders and their collaboration to further upscale project results. We talk about asking for to think and elaborate a policy mix to support companies, SMEs in innovation and their internationalization dynamics and to foster their successful participation. Third, the already pointed out a little bit, the enhancement of existing and new cooperation of the stakeholders in the less developed regions with industry association and other key players. And then you see this in the call text, then I will just have a look. We talk about the design of tools and instruments to develop the relevant know-how and international expert networks and to design the knowledge transfer or to design activities to transfer knowledge within consortium and beyond to regional and national ecosystem. With this, we have another look now at the next slide and talk, please. Yes. The support of investment project identification is still, here we talk about core actions. So don't mix this up with the third pillar. So here, still as a core action, we see the exercise to reinforce the capacity of innovation actors, to enable them to develop business idea. This includes then the market research, the analysis, also questions around IP protection, the analysis of the competitive market, other competitors, and to exploit also or replicate then interregional project results into new areas, tapping into cohesion policy, mainstream program funding, and also kind of pre-piloting of the investment ideas, and the design of industry-driven value chains initiatives. And also when we talk about legal, financial experts, when we talk about funding mixes, etc., to improve or help support project in this regard. So this is what you have to study and to take into account when you start with your project development. And now let's have a look at the so-called support actions. Next slide. Yes. You see that because it's green and blue, because we talk about two different pillars. So the blue part of the slide here, it's related to the so-called pillar 3. It's about the mapping and benchmarking. Benchmarking, of course, is then benchmark the performance against those in other regions. Here, we invite you to also have a look at the Regional Innovation Scoreboard, the Community Innovation Survey, the European Innovation Scoreboard, etc. Also, we include here the analysis of interregional value change and the segmentation of so-called sub-value change to identify these challenges, to identify the opportunities, and to identify the barriers for the participation of regional ecosystem with a focus on then identified niches. And then we talk about also about the mapping of the supply side competences and matching them with demand-driven business opportunities. And last but not least, here the activation of the innovation intermediaries. So this includes the regional development agencies. Don't forget the clusters. Here we see the clusters in the focus, but also some private sector organizations belonging to the regional innovation ecosystems. Last but not least, this is the green part of the slide. It's about the networking, the staff exchange schemes. This is, I see, it's a support action, but it's quite relevant. And this is the place, the to-be call, where you can put this kind of actions to enhance the capabilities of regional ecosystem to actively participate in the relevant EU networks. Take measures, develop measures to attract talents. Think about clusters, companies, prospection visit in other regions. Connect ecosystem activities, including business, and think about the building, the create interregional investment capacities of business developers or innovation managers. So we say bring both or cover both the core and the support action just presented in your proposal. Of course, when we talk core action. You see there's a focus on the core action. This is, I think, self-explaining. And with this to the next slide, please. Yes. So here, all this we planning to do, or you will do and implement to expect exactly what? Policy measures, actions plan, improved innovation, dissemination of practice examples, identified ISV instrument related value chains. Good. This will lead, we think and we see, to a reinforced capacity of the innovation ecosystem actors, especially in the less developed regions. You will see then the implemented support measures for innovation diffusion and investment identification, value chain participation. We also then hopefully have an increased maturity of project consortia. And again, the S3-based roadmap link, but here you see, we say contributing to the new European Innovation Agenda's flagships number 3 objectives. So here we talk about when we talk about the new European Innovation Agenda, number 3 flagship, we talk about accelerating, strengthening innovation in European innovation ecosystem to address the innovation divide. And there is the link to the so-called regional innovation rally. When you participated or when you had a look at the Strand 1 and 2A ISV calls, or the so-called co-fund call, there you will see and find the link to the so-called regional innovation rally that is also here then mentioned. Of course, then there's the link to be. With this, we go to the next slide, please. Yes, the KPIs that you see is here is to keep in mind they relate to the situation at the end of the project. So, of course, proposals should identify relevant KPIs and indicate targets that your consortium then plans to reach. And then you measure them at the beginning and at the end of your project. So here we identified 4 of them. When we talk about the interregional dimension, so this is referring to the more or less the number of regions at the different level of development, less, more developed, transition, outermost. When we talk about policy dimension, the policy objectives, you can translate that in a number of S3-based roadmaps developed to contribute to European strategic innovation agendas, or the S3 partnerships, but also other relevant interregional working groups in networks and platforms in which regions are actively participating, and also including the number of the policy measures conceived to engage in the ecosystem externally. Socio-economic benefits you can translate here in the number of value chain analysis based on the mapping and benchmarking activities just mentioned before. Also, number of the business cases identified in the framework of the given value chain developed, the number of companies involved, or the number of intermediaries, and also the number of interregional collaborations established or prepared. Gender dimension, yes, it's about increasing women participation and gender mainstreaming. So we talk about the number of gender quality measures in participating organization, or gender specific in innovation. But you are invited, and please feel encouraged to identify and measure other KPIs in addition to the listed. You can include action plans, develop business cases, ecosystem governance arrangements, etc. Please, the next slide. And here, for the consortium composition, I will pass the floor to my colleague Eric, who will guide you through the more interesting individual conditions regarding your participation, consortium composition, etc. Thank you very much for the moment.
Thank you, Michael. Good morning also from my side. My name is Eric Hengman. I'm the call coordinator for this capacity building Strand 2B call. And I'm a colleague of Michael and working in the unit of Denisa in the sector for the I3. And well, as Michael pointed out, I will go a bit more focused into how the successful proposal should look like. For the consortium, it should address like the innovation actors of the quadruple helix. First of all, the public authorities, but also research organizations and universities, academia, or the industries. And there we want to see also the participation of SMEs, and also seeing that the end users are also there. And a must condition for a proposal to be eligible is that the coordinator of the consortium must be coming from a less developed region, and it also has to be either a public body or a private non-profit organization, or in very specific cases it may also be an international organization. So Michael already pointed it out, there are different sizes of consortia. So here the very minimum is like 2 independent legal entities from 2 different regional ecosystems that have to come from also 2 different EU member states. And again, not necessarily the more the better. This is like, there might be a proposal that receives the full score in the evaluation with only fulfilling these minimum criteria. So it really depends on the quality. It's not, but this is the minimum. Less than that, we don't, it wouldn't be eligible. And also to what Michael earlier pointed out, to have this this reinforcement of the ecosystems and the knowledge transfer. Therefore, we also want to have at least one partner from a more developed region present in the consortium as well. And finally here, the participants, they should be endorsed by the competent bodies for the S3. And therefore we can go to the next slide. There we explain a bit more. So the proposals must relate to activities taking place in the eligible countries and to the smart specialization strategy of the participating regions covered by this consortium. And again, it is very important, that's why I will repeat it here. Please go approach early your authorities and to provide this letter of support that is in line indeed with the strategy of your region, what you will be doing in this project. Then it was already said, projects, we expect them to range between 18 and 24 months. So the majority like should be in this range. We we discussed it, and we didn't make it like a hard requirement. If you have like a really good project planned, which takes a bit more time than if it's properly explained in the proposal and convincing, then this so the guideline is 18 to 24 months. But if there are well justified reasons for that, why the success of the project can only be achieved with a bit more time, then you should, yeah, convince us or the evaluators. Same goes for the project budget. What we expect is a range between €500,000 and €1.5 million per project. Again, if you deviate from that, it must be very well explained why this is needed. And it was Michael already said it. It's a capacity building poll where the funding rate is 100%, which is quite attractive in this case. Next slide, please. And yes, your proposals will be evaluated upon 4 different award criteria, and there this is quite different to the usual Horizon projects, where there are mainly 3 criteria, and the focus is on the excellence. Here we don't have excellence. What we want to see is the relevance, meaning to what extent the project matches the themes, priorities, and objectives of the call, and how the stakeholders from the relevant innovation ecosystems are involved. And there's also an important part to what extent it promotes the participation of EU outermost regions, and to what extent the project offers added value to regions with specific challenges. And there again, the relevance is linked also to the effectiveness of your planned actions, and how these addresses the needs of the target groups. And it should relevance also regarding the European and interregional dimension of your proposed actions. The second award criterion is quality, and there it's regarding the technical quality on the one hand, and also the quality of the consortium and the project team. And there an important part is the methodology for implementing the project, and quality parameters also are the procedures in place, and are there problem-solving mechanisms. And an important part is how will the solutions in your project address the identified issues. And the last part in this quality criterion is also the risk management and risk mitigation measures, if this is covered in your proposal. Next slide, please. The third award criterion is the cost effectiveness. It's kind of self-explanatory. It is, does the project foresee sufficient resources and budget for a proper implementation of the project? And is the budget appropriately distributed and the resources among the consortium partners? But also the evaluators will have a look if the proposed budget offers best value for money, and if the principle of sound financial management has been taken into account, and that the consortium foresees appropriate tools for financial and budgetary control. The fourth and final award criterion is impact, and there it's mainly about fostering organizational capacity to participate in future interregional innovation investments projects that someone want to see. What Michael explained earlier in the slide, that the participation in this capacity building Strand 2B call ideally leads then to submitting a proposal for our Strand 1 or Strand 2A calls. Also very important for the impact is the quality of the dissemination strategy and the scale up or the exploitation activities for to ensure the sustainability and to show a long-term impact. And also the impact for the whole ecosystem and the various target groups, and the impact of a project should also lead into policy learnings that we can then be translated into some policy recommendations for us to further improve this framework. Just a last comment on these award criteria. So they are, the impact has it's not really weighted, but it counts twice as much, the score. So the evaluators in the scoring of the proposal, it's each criterion is scored up to 5, and the minimum pass mark is for each criterion 2.5, and for impact it's the double. It's scored up to 10, and the pass mark is 5. But then to have a proposal passing the minimum threshold, you have to be above the threshold for each individual criterion, what I just said, but also the aggregate, the sum of this has to be more than 50%. You have to have at least 70% of the maximum score to be above the threshold and to be have the possibility for funding. Okay. So next slide, please. And there, at the end, for my part, I will give you a short outlook of the timeline. So the call opened last week on the 15th, and it will be open for submission for proposals until the 15th of February 2024. This is what we call the first cutoff. And proposals submitted up to that date, they will be evaluated in the period between March and May. And then we will have for the successful applicants and the grant agreement preparation phase to I skipped the evaluation results. This will try to do to inform the applicants by July 2024. Then for the successful ones, we then engage in this grant agreement preparation phase, where the grants should be signed in September, and the projects should start ideally around October 2024. And then again, we, like I said, it's a multiple cutoff. The second and final cutoff for this call will then be again in November the 14th of 2024. So this means you still have a few months to prepare for this cutoff, but if you miss it somehow, or if you're unsuccessful, then you can reapply for the second cutoff in November 2024. Okay, next slide, please. And now I will hand over to our financial colleagues, or will be done by.
Perfect. Many thanks, Eric and Michael, for the very, very detailed and extensive presentation. I believe now everything is clear. And we can move on to the financial part. And with this, I hand over to Anna Kontarova and Jana Dobiashova, who are our colleagues in the financial team. And it's them who also will be later on looking at your detailed budget table if ever you submit a proposal. Over to you, Anna. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Denisa. Good morning to everyone. My name is Anna Kontarova, and together with Jana Dobiashova, we are financial officers here at ASMEA. And in this presentation, we will explain how to fill in your detailed budget table. Next slide, please. So from the financial perspective, you will have to prepare basically two documents, which are mandatory part of your proposal. And these are the summarized budget table, which is filled in directly online, and the detailed budget table, which is a template, normally an Excel file. It will have to be filled and uploaded in the allowed format, generally as a PDF. We advise you first to prepare your detailed budget table. This is the one from the template from part B, and then finalize the summarized budget table from part A. This is because the amount entered in the summarized budget table must correspond to the amount calculated from the detailed budget table. And we also look at the discrepancies, and in case when we find them, then the amount from the online summarized budget table will be taken into account. Next slide, please. Next, yeah. So as regards the detailed budget table, please read carefully the introductory pages, but these will not have to be submitted as a part of your detailed budget table. In sheet 2, you will have to add your project data, work packages, number of estimated travels, and then update the table. And this will basically create the structure of your detailed budget. Then sheets 3, 4, and 5 should have to be submitted as one merged document. Next slide. The most important sheet for us is sheet 3, the detail table. You will have to present one complete detail table per each participant, and in case there is an affiliated entity as a part of consortium. The proposed budget should be based on detailed, reasonable, and accurate estimates, of course. And you will see that the budget table is broken down by cost category and by work packages. The number of work packages has to be same in all budget categories, and in case there are no costs to be filled in, just leave them empty. The detail table should contain only eligible costs, and each item should be listed only once in its main work package section. And as for a tip, when you will see white cells, those are the cells where you have to enter the data, and the blue cells are calculated automatically. And next slide, please. The sheet 4 is called consolidated table per participant, and good news is that this one is calculated automatically by the template, and it shows different cost headings per work package. Therefore, you will have always one detailed table of each participant, followed by this sheet 4 consolidated table per participant. The sheet 5 consolidated table per project includes cost per work package and per participant, and this sheet needs to be assembled manually by the coordinator, and it must match the financial data entered and automatically calculated in the previous tables. Next slide, please. As explained, the detailed budget table has to be presented per participant, per work package, and per cost category. The proposed budget always has to be in balance, meaning the project costs have to be equal to the project income. And now I will pass the floor to my colleague Jana, who will guide you through the specific cost categories in more detail.
Thank you, Anna. Good morning, everyone. So as presented by my colleagues, I will now take you through the different cost categories and what they look like in the detailed budget table. I will try to give you some practical information in order to avoid the most common mistakes while filling in the detailed budget table, and in that sense also to avoid unnecessary prolongation of the potential grant agreement preparation stage. Next slide, please. So in case of personal costs, the budgeted costs can fall under any of the highlighted subcategories if they fulfill the general eligibility conditions. In this sense, you need to always keep in mind that you should fill in all the highlighted columns that you see on the slide and provide details as known as possible to you at the grant agreement preparation stage or at the proposal stage. This means that you should always keep in mind that if something is unclear or we might have questions, we will most likely come back to you with these questions. So it's always better to provide as many details as you can, while at the same time you don't have to be necessarily inventing, for example, the task descriptions and so on. These can be copied from the narrative part of the application. You don't have to invent anything new for the detailed budget table. For the categories A1 to A3, for the personal costs, you will need to select the staff category from the drop-down list. It's also highlighted on the slide, and indicate the monthly rate per each person and the month equivalents to be worked on the project. You must fill in the monthly rates for each person that will work on the project, but at the same time, you should keep in mind that the estimated costs should be always based on historical data and need to correspond to what appears on the payroll. If something is again unclear to us, we will come back to you for more details. For category A4, SME owners, here you will need to indicate the daily rate as per the relevant commission decision. You will also find the way to calculate these rates in Annex 2A, and the day equivalents worked on the project. Again, these rates will be verified by us, by the financial officers, and will need to be corrected in case they are not applied in the right way. Please keep in mind that the day equivalents worked per year cannot be higher than 215. There is a horizontal ceiling on the days per year that can be worked by a staff member. Also here, maybe it will be good to mention that for the SME owners, we will always need to know the name of the SME owner who should benefit from the unit cost rate, and we need to be able to verify this name in the registration documents of the SME. Next slide, please. Subcontracting costs basically serve to purchase goods, works, and services that are related to the implementation of specific tasks, which are part of the action. You will always need to keep in mind that only a limited part of the action can be subcontracted, meaning that, for example, project management tasks, the coordinator tasks cannot be subcontracted and will not be eligible as such. In the detailed budget table for subcontracting, you will need to provide the name of the subcontracted item, the foreseen cost, as well as a short description of the subcontracted project activities. And again, the description can be copied from the mirroring table in the narrative part B. And note that also subcontracting costs have to be budgeted in Annex 2, which means the summarized budget table. In this sense, it will be good to get a little bit familiar with the different templates so that you know where to verify the different aspects, and always make sure that the data, the amounts, the information matches across the different parts of your application. Next slide, please. In terms of travel costs, these can only be budgeted for personnel that is working on the action and must be budgeted as unit costs, meaning prefixed amounts that are listed in the relevant commission decision. We will provide you with relevant links, but again, the rates are also available in Annex 2A. For the unit costs calculations, you will need to, for the actual travel, you will need to base them on the distance between the departure, which means the place of employment, and the arrival point. In this case, for example, I don't know, to be specific, from Lisbon to Madrid. In that sense, there is a flight calculator that will be also available to you and is also linked in Annex 2A to determine the exact distance to be calculated. Here you need to keep in mind that the distance is calculated one way. However, the unit cost, the applicable unit cost, is per return trip. In terms of accommodation, here 1 unit equals 1 night. And subsistence costs here we calculate as a unit 24-hour period. And again, the rates are fixed per each country, if specified in the Commission decision. You will have to use the normally you will use the unit cost rates, but there are some specific travel instances where you will need to budget actual costs. Again, this you will need to familiarize yourself a little bit with the relevant Commission decision. But there is, for example, travels that are below 50 kilometers that are not covered by the Commission decision, and then will need to be budgeted as actual costs, regardless of whether you use unit or actual costs. In the detailed budget table, you will need to use the respective column. This you also see highlighted on the slide. And you will need to provide us with the calculation details in the description column, which is the last column that you see in the print screen on the slide. Here, you need to take into account that we need to be able to verify whether you used the correct unit cost rates. So you will need to provide us with the details of the place of departure, the destination, the number of days, the number of personnel traveling, etc. Next slide, please. In terms of equipment, so purchase of equipment must be declared always as depreciation costs, calculated on the basis of the costs that are actually incurred and written off in accordance with international accounting standards of the beneficiary's usual accounting practices. Here, only the portion of the cost that corresponds to the rate that actually was used during the action can be taken into account. And again, if we have questions, we will come back to you. So it is better to make sure that you calculate the equipment costs in this way. Costs for renting or leasing of equipment are also eligible if they do not exceed the depreciation costs of similar equipment and do not include any financing fees. For purchase of equipment and renting or leasing of equipment, there are different cells in the detailed budget table, as you will also be able to see on the slide. Here, it may be interesting to just point out that, for example, computers or software or printers are purchases that normally would be covered by indirect costs and can only be eligible if they are really specifically needed for certain tasks. They have special technical setup, etc. But normally they would be covered by indirect costs. Next slide, please. Other cost categories, so other purchases of goods, works, and services must be calculated on the basis of actually incurred costs, and procurement principles always apply here. Here, it is important that the items are listed in the correct category. It happens often that these are mixed up, and detailed information should be provided in the description of the task activities column, because very often it's not clear what these other costs are. So, for example, when you have the cost category consumables, if you just write consumables in the description column, we will again come back to you. We will need to know a little bit more what you have in mind for this particular cost category. Next slide, please. Indirect costs are the running and operating costs. So as I mentioned before, for example, computers, stationery, the rent of the office, for example, these are not directly linked to the action implementation and are not to be attributed directly to the action. Here you don't need to provide any breakdown of these costs because these are reimbursed as a flat rate of 7% of the eligible direct costs. Next slide, please. So this is my last slide. We're following each detailed budget table per participant. There's also a green project income table. Here, the most common mistake we see is that the EU contribution does not exactly match the EU contribution that is filled in Sigma. And so again, as I said before, it's good to always verify, always double check that all the information and amounts that you provide across the different parts of your proposal match each other so that we avoid unnecessary exchanges to make these kind of clerical corrections. Thank you very much and good luck with your proposals.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Jana and Anna, for this very, very clear presentation and for sticking on time. Really much appreciated. During the past years when working on the grant agreement preparations for the I3 instrument, but not only, we realized that applicants face lots of troubles and issues or don't understand, I mean, what is expected from them during the legal and financial validation phase. Therefore, this is for the first time, actually, we invite to our info days our colleagues from the Research and Executive Agency, who are responsible for this extremely important process. And we ask them to a bit walk you through what is requested from you and to explain you the key expectation, the key guidelines. And it's my pleasure to welcome here Radu Sora and Mariam Gandhi. Thanks a lot, colleagues. Over to you.
Thanks a lot, Denisa, for the nice introduction. My name is Radu Sora. I'm coordinating the validation planning team in REA, and today, together with my colleague Mariam, we are going to briefly explain to you a bit let's say the easiest part of the presentation today, registration of your organization. We are going to explain what the Central Validation Service is doing on a daily basis. The registration of organization in the funding and tender portal, that's a very easy process. I will show you immediately. We will stress a bit the communication aspect because this is very important for us during the process. And then I will share with you guidance documents. So let's go to the next slide. The REA Central Validation Services, the European Commission delegated to us this task. We are in charge of verifying the legal existence and legal status of the organization participating in grants and procurements and maybe contribution agreements in the future. During this process, we also validate the appointment of the legal entity appointed representative. So this is a very important role that the organization will need to validate together with our support. We are going to describe you a bit later what this means, but at this stage, at submission phase, you don't need to worry about the details of the process. I'm just trying to explain that this will come to you at a later stage, but at this stage submission, you will need to register organization, and I will show you how. What else we do, and it's very important, in order to maintain our database, we validate all the changes of the validated entities. In order to do this, of course, we need to make sure that bigger changes like mergers of entities are also, let's say, updated in our database. And this is what we call universal takeovers. We also make sure that legal entities and bank account files are up to date in our internal tools. We are going to also show you today how we prepare the financial capacity assessment, and this is only for specific cases. We perform ownership control analysis for specific programs not applicable today. We won't go into details. And we also perform ex post status verification, SME or mid-cap status, for example. This is a list of tasks that may come to you at a certain moment in time. Not today, but it's important to be aware of them. Let's go to the next slide. So if we look at the validation process and if we imagine like an overview, it all starts with the registration, and this is very important for you today. After that, there are a series of checks that I mentioned earlier, and they happen at different stage in the process. We won't cover into details all of them. We will just pass what is necessary for you to know today. Let's go to the next slide and talk about the registration. So it all happens in the participant, in the funding and tenders portal. You have two options. One of them, and the first one, is to search for your organization. So before registering from scratch your organization, you will be requested to search if your organization already exists in the system and if it has already a participant identification code. So if you click on the search for registered organization, you will type your name, and then there is a high chance that you will already have your organization registered with the corresponding PIC number. But if this is not the case, that's absolutely no problem. You'll click on the next part, on the register your organization from scratch, new registration. This process takes 5 to 7 minutes. So it's very quick, very easy. And if we go to the next slide, I will show you more or less what type of information you need to have next to you during the process. So during the registration, so if you clicked on the new register my organization from scratch, you will be requested to fill in certain fields, like creating a profile online, but instead of creating it for you, you are going to create this profile for your organization. So the type of data that we are asking and what we are going to verify at a later stage, of course, the legal name of the entity, the registration country, the registration number, VAT, if applicable, yes or no. So I recommend to have this sort of data at your disposal at the moment of registration. Nevertheless, even if there is a little mistake, a typo there, it's not going to be a problem. We are supposed to verify all this data based on supporting documents at a later stage. What is important to know is that at when you are going to complete this process, so registration complete, you are going to obtain this famous participant identification code that we call PIC, the abbreviation, in a declared status. And with this PIC, you can already submit a proposal. Even though it will be in a declared status, this won't be a blocking thing at this stage. Let's go to the next slide. So we go back to the validation process overview. And now we finish the registration. What could happen next is, of course, the verification of the data that you declared in the portal based on supporting documents and the lead appointment. This process goes in parallel. FCA as well, financial capacity assessment goes in parallel. I will give the floor at a later stage to my colleague Mariam to explain you this part. So next slide. It is very important, and I think one of the biggest advantages of this type of system that we are using is that once you are validated, it's done, it's valid for the entire lifetime of the organization. So you can apply with this with this PIC code again and again, either for grants, either for procurements, without going through the process again. What is important for us, and then this is where the LEAR comes through, is that you need to update your organization. We rely a bit on your feedback in order to maintain the database clean and accurate. Let's go to the next slide. How we perform the validation. Validation is always performed on the basis of supporting documents, as I already explained, and in accordance to EU financial regulation and our rules, the rules on legal entity validation, lead appointment, and financial capacity assessment. I will pass in the guidance documents a link to them, so you will have a look. I strongly advise you to have a look, maybe not today, but it's important to consider this in this preparation. You know that validation is required for all beneficiaries and affiliated entities. It means that associated partners are not concerned about this process. And then a recommendation that PICs of affiliated entities frequently included in the consortium during the gap must be introduced in the funding and tender portal declared there. Let's go to the next slide. And here I will pass the floor shortly to Mariam to explain you a bit the financial capacity assessment part. Thanks.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Radu. My name is Mariam Gandhi. I'm coordinating the financial capacity assessment verification at REA. I'm happy to present you the financial capacity assessment process. We see together how it works and what kind of documents we are asking you. We can move to the next slide, please. Here you see the legal basis for the FCA. On the top, you see financial regulation, which is really the main reference document for the principles, procedures governing the establishment, implementation, and control of the EU budget. There, under Article 196, you see the content of the grant applications that stipulates the need that the applicants demonstrate their financial and operational capacity in order to carry out the action. You see also the reference for the external audit requirement, and under Article 198 with the selection criteria that you see some exceptions where we do not apply the FCA, we see together later. You have the validation rules that Radu just explained. You have also a link where you see these documents. We have it in our presentation, and you will see it also in the request for information we send you if your entity is triggered for this check. Then, of course, you have the core document where under point 7 you see the financial and operational capacity and exclusion. So it will be applied for our beneficiaries and affiliated entities, except for the public bodies and international organization. Also, this will not apply for low-value grants, which are below 60,000. We can move to the next slide. Here, in case your entity is triggered for financial capacity, you will receive a message from us. You see that the red flag on the messages with the financial capacity assessment to the subject, where you need to open and see what kind of documents we are requesting you. Next slide, please. And you need to view the message here, and by right-clicking, and you see the content. And in case you need to communicate with us, always use the workflow. I mean, the subject, what you're referring to, like financial capacity, in order to create a new message to communicate with us. This is the official way to contact us in case you need to ask any questions. We can move to the next slide. And if there is something you're not able to submit the documents, there is always a comment box where you can send justification in order to interact with our services. What we are asking you, these are the supporting documents we are asking you to submit. These are the latest 2 financial years approved accounts. What we mean, the balance sheet and profit and loss accounts, it should be in the official language of your country. They need to be approved, signed by the management of your company. And we also ask you together to send us any explanatory notes if they're available. This will help us to prepare a proper assessment. And if your entity is a newly established company, you're required to send us a business plan covering the first year of your activity. And the business plan should demonstrate the forecast of the current, non-current assets, capital, current and non-current liabilities, as well as revenues and expenses that you expect on the first year of your activity. You see all these details in the message that you receive from us. In case we miss some information about the maturity of some items, we will then apply the prudent approach. What we mean that in this case, we will use the short-term, for instance, if you have, we miss any information on maturity of items on the debts, we will consider them then by default short-term, and that's why we are asking you to submit as complete as possible the accounts that you have with the explanatory notes. Once the financial capacity assessment is done, it will stay valid for 18 months from the date of the closing date of your accounts. That's all from my side. We can move further. Thank you very much. I leave the floor to Radu.
Thanks, Mariam. So going to the communication side, and this is the very important part for me to explain today, is that have you seen that during the process we have very important communication between us and the organization. This happens all the time, and we insist on this point, is that it should go via the participant registers. We are not available, we don't have a functional mailbox or something like that in order to get in touch with us. And we stress that it's very important at the moment of registration, and even if you have a valid PIC already in the system, that you make sure business continuity is ensured. During the process, so whenever we send the request to you, doesn't matter if it's related to the legal, to the legal appointment, to financial capacity assessment, the person who has access to the organization will receive a notification by email, and this person will need to go and check out the request coming from our side. Sometimes we have issues in this point, and when the communication doesn't work, let's go to the next slide. I will explain you how to fix this part, because this is where it can get complicated. Overall, the process is very straightforward. We request documents, you submit them, we check, we validate, and then case closed. You can proceed with participating to any type of grant or document you would like to get involved. So in case you lost access, it doesn't matter if it's a non-valid or a valid PIC, there is a solution in place for you. But what I always recommend at this stage, at submission stage, is at registration phase, always take in consideration and appoint a backup. So the person who creates the PIC account and who registered for the first time the organization has an option to appoint another person with access to the organization, another self-registered. So I strongly advise you to do this and to ensure business continuity already at this stage. But let's say you lost access, what are you going to do? You have a declared PIC, you found it in the portal, you submit your application with it, but nobody has access to it. In that case, the simple solution is you need to create a new one. So you need to disregard the fact that this PIC was already existing in the portal. You know nobody has access to it. It was created maybe a long time ago. The advice here, you just go create a new one, you contact us, you inform us via the participant register that you created a new PIC, that the previous one is no longer in use. And at that moment, we are going to link them, and then we make sure that the new PIC will appear in the project. The same, but a bit different, the procedure, if your PIC is already validated and earlier, the person who was appointed as the official contact point with the European Commission is no longer there for several reasons. The solution in this case, as we only have one valid PIC in the system and we cannot validate several PICs for the same organization, is what we call lead recovery procedure. And this is an option available in the funding and tenders portal. I have the link here in the slides. Basically, this link will ensure that you regain access temporarily to your account in order to generate again the documents needed to appoint the lead. Once we verify the documents, you will recover the access. And then for the lead, I have the same recommendation. Please appoint account administrator. This is the role that is more or less the backup of the lead. It doesn't have exactly the same powers as the leader, but I would say it covers 90% of the things that the leader should do for an organization. That's it. I think next slide, and the last one concerning the guidance documents. As I said earlier, have a look at them. I'm not going to go into details today. Just have a look, open them, and then start with how to register in the participant register, and then have a look on the rules, legal notice, online manual. These are very important things for you to know. And that was it on my side, I think. I really hope you're going to have questions, and we are here to answer to all of them. Thanks.
Thank you, Rado and colleagues. Now we are moving a bit back again to the, how to say, original part. And Eric, who is the head of sector for the I3 instrument in my unit, has around 15-20 minutes to walk you through, ideas and tips how to draft and submit a good proposal, taking into account what you had heard in the previous part of the presentation. And once Eric finishes, Nico Natek, who is one of our project coordinators from the first batch of projects signed under the 2B. Michael already mentioned it. I signed the project earlier this week, so congratulations. Will share with you some experience about the project. Not what is the project about, but really, what are the challenges and what, kind of tips that are useful for you to learn when submitting or preparing a proposal for the call to be under the I3 instrument. And with this, I give over to you, Eric. Thank you.
Many thanks, Denisa, and welcome to all attendees to this info day on the capacity building call. Indeed, as Denisa mentioned, we are now in the most practical part of the information day, starting with my presentation on some tips on how to write a good proposal. Well, first of all, think about, and this is not an non-exhaustive list you see here, of some of the basic elements before you apply. So are you admissible? Are you eligible? Are you fit for application? So number of questions rise here, for example, in terms of number of entities, type of entities, number of countries. We have because we are under the European Regional Development Fund, we also care a lot about the status of the regions, the economic status of the regions, whether they are less developed, transition, or more developed. So here, for example, remember that the coordinator must come from a less developed region. And the status of the coordinator is also predetermined, as you see here. We can discuss it later also in the FAQ section as part of the info day. And then, of course, we are really into smart specialization. So we want the participants and their regions to come up with capacity building ideas in their smart specialization areas. Then there are some excluded areas, including environmentally harmful proposals, and this is the rule for any kind of EU project. We don't accept double funding for the same activity. Next slide, please. Here, this is a screen you will probably see when you get familiar with the portal and when applying. We have the part A, which is generated by the IT system, where you encode the data in the portal. And part B, which is a document you will download, fill in, and then upload again as a PDF. The steps you see here, if you can please click another time. Click. There's an animated slide. Yes, next click. For the part B, as I said, it's a part where you have to download the part B templates. Once you click there, you get a zip with the three main files, including the application form. Next click, please, because there is another part C, which is particular to the I3 instrument. Here we have some obligatory data to encode for the capacity building call. We only have the nomenclatura for territorial units to encode, so the regions you apply. And the others are non-obligatory because they're not really relevant, because we're not into the investment strands of the I3 instrument. Next slide, please. Here you have this main screen you will see from the beginning when you log in. Most probably you are familiar with that from other programs and instruments. A click, please. Next click. Click, please. Yeah, next another one. Yes. And then you see here that, for example, the forms that, as I said, are directly encoded. You don't have to upload anything. If you click again, please, click. So here is a obligatory part. You see it with the red star. It's marked. So the part B, the detailed budget table, the CVs, and the endorsement letter. I'll come back to that. The endorsement letter from the competent Smart Specialization Authority is obligatory. Please upload it. If you don't upload anything there, there will be a validation error. Please click now. Yes, compulsory, and then click again. The validation. If you click, then you will see the errors and you will see what's missing before you submit on the yellow button. Next slide, please. So be prepared. I mean, it sounds easy, but there's a lot of preparation to be done. We have realized in the first call that the capacity building call is very competitive. So when I say here, go for gold, I mean it. We had, for example, 44 proposals in the last call, and we only could fund 9 proposals. So it's pretty competitive, and we expect even more proposals this time. So it's a one shot in a sense that you cannot, I mean, they're the second cutoff, but there's not 2 stages where you can submit an improved version. So that's why try to be as good as possible in your quality and how you write the proposal. I would not refrain from asking experienced form applicants, even from running projects, if you know them, from the previous call, even from the investment strands that are running currently. For that, you see also that we have some opportunities to look for partners on the portal. Then, of course, the S3 community of practice, or the enterprise youth network. Other possibilities are there, of course. What is important is that when you write your proposal, that you don't simply repeat the work program context. You want really specificities of your regions, of the involved regions. We want clear objectives, activities. We want to focus on less developed regions and possibly outermost regions, because this is the whole idea of capacity building. And we have, as Michael explained in his part, the focus on the core action and support actions, and here the pillars. And here we have to be sure that you cover at least one of them in both of the areas. Then, in terms of the FAQs that were mentioned already, this is very practical and very useful because often there come questions that only applicants can think about and are most relevant to you. So please have a look, but please don't submit them too late. If we do it 5 workdays, within 5 workdays before the cut-off deadline, then we might have issues to reply in time. So keep that in mind. And yes, when I mean be prepared, I also mean that you need to consider the weighting of the criteria. My other colleague Eric mentioned earlier on that the impact criterion is higher weighted. Obviously, you need to be good in all of them to be able to be funded. Next slide, please. Yes, and here I will not spend too much time on the next 4 slides because these are the work criteria. Why do we put them again? Because they are the core elements of your application. You will find those kind of questions and features in the application form. So if we talk about relevance, for example, the match with the call document, with the work program, with EU goals, and the needs of the target groups, the stakeholders is crucial. Next slide. On the quality, here again, what's your specific value proposition? What makes your proposal better than others? What about the methodologies, the quality of the consortium, and the project management methodologies? Next slide. About the cost effectiveness, here I want to make a specific point, apart from, of course, the best value for money, which is important for us, and the proper allocation of resources. I made a special point here on the budget planning, and on the detailed budget table, we have made the experience that this was the most complex part of the grant agreement preparation, and also for applicants when they apply for the call, because it takes time. Not so much the part A table, which my financial colleagues early on explained, but the part where you have to encode lots of tables on participants, on work packages, and consolidated tables. So please have a look also on the guidance on the first page of the Excel table. Next slide, which is the fourth criterion, impact. Indeed, the most weighted criterion. Here, we want to make sure that in the end, we want you to get ready for the future, for ideally for a Strand 1 or 2A proposal submission. We want to make sure that there's an impact on your ecosystems and on the relevant target groups. And then obviously we have a focus on less developed regions and outermost regions possibly as well. And then the classical question is about what happens after the project, after the EU funding runs out. So if you can explain very well what the follow-up is after the project end, this is always useful and will be positively assessed in the evaluation. Next slide, please. A bit more nitty-gritty into the evaluation. It sounds picky, but it's important because here sometimes we get errors. Put yourself in the evaluator's shoes, meaning that you will be succinct, to the point. We have maximum 60 pages. If you go above the 60 pages, you get the access pages watermarked, and we need to ask the external evaluators to disregard them. Please also don't change the format and the instructions to win space. These kind of tricks will not be accepted. And then also write in a way that is understandable. So we don't assume that we have only technical specialists that know everything. So we need to write in a way that is understandable for a normal person. And yes, so there's also the question about what kind of information you need to squeeze in. I mean, the Gantt chart is usually put there as a project manager, you know that. Do it, of course, but don't do it for the sake of charts and images. So make sure that you get the most relevant information in, because it's about reading and not so much about visual is important as well. But of course, the evaluators need to have the substance in to properly assess your project. Next slide, please. Yes, and I think this might be my last slide, because this is why is it a long list? Because there's plenty of information for you to get a good proposal. I want to make, repeat again the importance of reading the call document. This is your Bible. This is the reference for the evaluation. They include this also includes the award criteria. Michael mentioned early on the project overview on the funding and tenders portal. We have now almost more than 30 projects running. Some of them are capacity building projects, but you might also get inspired by Strand 1 and 2A investment projects. So have a look. Have also a look at the various online manuals, and also at the various IS3 instrument website and the Smart Specialization platform. There's plenty of information. And final word, I said it already, but there is the application form. And in the application form, where you type in your main description, you see in each section a little section where you see the sub questions on what is important for each criterion. So carefully read those sub questions, because they are really, we want you to put the information in that is mentioned there. So if that can be of help, please check especially and read carefully the application template. And with that, I hand over to Denisa, because I think we're coming now to the most practical part of the Info Day.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Eric. And now over to Nico Natek, who is the coordinator of the CREAT project. Nico, over to you.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. We can hear you.
Perfect.
Can you please put the video on if you can?
Here
Yeah,
I am.
perfect.
So next slide, please. Yes. So hello. Dear ladies and gentlemen, my name is Niko Natek. I'm representing the Energy Agency of Savinska, Shaleshka and Koroshka region. Today, I will just share with you my experience, or our experience rather, with applying to the I-free mechanism, why it's important to us, and how it fits into our long-term development strategies. Just looking over today's short talk, first I will say a few words about our organization, our journey as a beneficiary throughout the past 2 decades, the challenges that we face within the EU and beyond, why we feel that transnational cooperation is relevant, and how we engage in terms also of the I-free context. Very shortly, I will say a few words about the project that was successfully approved, what it basically is, what we want to do, and why it's relevant. And then I will try to draw some conclusions of why I believe we have been successful. Of course, we are far from an expert on I-free topics, because this is the first experience that we will receive. So a success story will only be made after we successfully finish, but with the team that we have gathered, I have no doubt that this will be so. So basically what I want to do is to present our background, to reference the current state of the Union, and what has to happen in the next decades if we want to remain the current standard of living and advance, of course, and how I-free, in our opinion, fits that role. So this is something I'll try to do very shortly. Next slide, please. So first few words about our organization. Our agency was formed in 2006 within the framework of the Intelligent Energy Europe program. We were founded by 3 city municipalities and a local utility company. Our main partner is the city municipality of Velenje, which we have been basically working very closely since our inception. And of course, also the public utility company Velenje, that is basically, in terms of our relevance, it's the manager of the district heating network within the Savinsko-Shaleshka Valley. Our primary mandate was a local energy manager. So way before the green transition was a popular topic within on the national and especially on the local level, the city municipality of Velenje was a very ambitious and active local authority that looked beyond the current comfort. There's a reason for this. The city municipality of Velenje is the administrative center of the Savinsko-Shaleshka region, which is a coal-intensive region in transition. This means that very early on we were faced with several issues, from environmental degradability to the question of how to ensure proper employment once the inevitable end of coal-related industries would occur. So we basically started with energy analysis, energy audits. We moved forward then with energy certificates of buildings, into investment of energy renovation. In 2012, we implemented our first renewable energy project, which was a solar power plant on the roof of the municipality. And from there on out, we have grown into an expert organization with quite the outreach to relevant stakeholders. We have grown into several other areas of specialty, from project development assistance to innovation procurement, and our mandates our original mandates were, of course, enforced in this time. Next slide, please. Currently, we are still a very small organization. We have 13 employees. We are members of several national and international networks. The four most important are listed below. So we have Federen, we have NALAS. The city municipality of Velenia was, I think, the first signatory with a confirmed sustainable energy action plan, now called SECAP, already in 2011. We are also, of course, a part of a strategic development and innovation partnerships, which plays a very large role in the implementation of S3 strategy. Just to name a few. Of course, during the years, we have successfully completed over 40 transnational projects on several programs. I mentioned already the IEE program. Then I can also reference Southeast Europe, various Interreg programs from Europe, Alpine Space, Danube Transnational Program, etc. We were also very successful on Horizon 2020 and now in Europe, LIFE, YOKI, ESPON, Cross Border, Cohesion Fund, and now the latest into a sort of money is I3. So as I mentioned, coordination and support actions are something that supported our long-term mandate as an energy manager, but we have grown out of our role and into new specialties, which includes research and innovation actions, project development assistance, innovation procurement, and of course, investment and deployment in the field of renewable energy and sustainable mobility. Next slide, please. As I mentioned, I think the reason why we were so advanced on the local level is because we were forced to look at this real situation and to decide how to move forward. And this is a picture of the Shalishka region towards the formal energy power plant Shortan. Currently, it provides 1/3 of the electricity supply of Slovenia. And now, within the participation in the Just Transition Fund, we have included in our strategy that in 2033, we will close all coal-related activities. So this is less than 10 years away. We have our work cut out for us. It's a very ambitious timeline. If you know energy projects, then you always speak in terms of decades. And yes, we'll have to very actively engage with this challenge in order to meet our goals. Next slide, please. So just a few words about the challenges. Now you know where we are coming from and that the challenges that we are now facing, we have basically considered a few years ago. On the right, on the upper right, you will see a chart that is not, in fact, a no-name cryptocurrency, but it's actually the Dutch TTF benchmark for natural gas. It went from about 20 euros per megawatt hour to over 260. Now it has settled at about double the price before the crisis. And this, I think, is a very important lesson of how fragile our current supply of energy and also the current way of life we have become accustomed to is. Whether or not there are still actually some people that refuse to believe in global warming and that the anthropological side is way over exaggerated and it's part of the natural cycle, be it Milankovitch or whatever. But if you don't believe anything else, then you must know that the European Union and especially countries like Slovenia we are energy and resource poor. And what we do have is a very strong engineering and research base, but to depend on the current influx of supply, be it materials or energy, and just to pretend that we are not vulnerable would be very foolish. Indeed, energy is the master resource, and without cheap and abundant energy, our economy and society grows much, much simpler than today. I calculated again the other day that according to the EEA estimates, we have about 40 years of oil left, with the majority of it being in Venezuela and other OPEC members. Of course, technology will develop. Of course, we will discover new fields. But then again, it depends on how much it will cost and how much we are able to pay for that energy. So for us, it's quintessential that we base our energy transition on very short supply chains that are local, that we have influence on, and to try to mitigate the shortfall of cheap and abundant energy, because we, in the end, we are moving to less productive energy sources with basically a rise of knowledge-intensive industries. That means that if we can be really good in supporting our industrial base, our SMEs, to develop new solutions and to base on our economy on that, then this will put us in a much better position than currently, whereby we still have low-skilled labor and, for example, aluminium smelting in Slovenia. I'm sure this will not be able to carry on for very long. Next slide, please. And this is a new image from the reality we're currently facing. This is an image of Slovenia this August. We have experienced the worst natural disaster since not only since our country, but also in terms of when we were still part of Yugoslavia. Many of us spent our days helping people to salvage what they could. And we were very much shocked to learn that images like this are not really localized or specific to Slovenia anymore. This is something that we will have to get used to, because natural disasters like this are becoming very frequent. And I think sooner or later, wherever you live, you will experience something like this. It may not be a flood, it may not be a hailstorm, it could be something else, but to me, it's shocking that some people still want to deny that we have issues like this. Next slide, please. So this is our background. I'm sure now that you understand what is important to us and what we have been trying to achieve for all of these years. It's been an uphill battle, almost like David versus Goliath one, but I'm happy to learn that the policy development was very, very strong, and so is the understanding of the stakeholders. Whereas in 2007, if you were discussing peak energy, peak oil, or issues with the energy supply, or even the environment, it was a much different reception than it is now. So now, basically 17 years after our inceptions, here we are. We managed to successfully apply to the I3 call for Strand 2B with our project titled Green Transition in Central Europe. The duration is the maximum, so it's 24 months, with a budget just over 1.4 million euros. We, again, are taking over the role of the project coordinator. Next slide, please. So this is our consortium. We have two organizations from Slovenia. Besides us, that's the Economic Chamber of Slovenia. We have two organizations from Hungary, then from Croatia, Slovakia, Romania, and Poland. Of this, we have 4 less developed regions that are a focus of the project, and we also have a very, very large stakeholder network of associated partners. So these are 21 organizations from 6 countries. Next slide, please. What I also think is very important, so within the consortium that we constructed, we have proven track records, references that are related directly to the activities of the project. So I think we were successful in conveying and convincing the evaluators that we have the capacity to deliver. From the associate partners, of course, we are demonstrating already within the proposal development our outreach to the target groups that will be actively involved. What is very good in this regard is that we were focusing on industry associations and clusters, which basically means that you have one contact organization that has a contact to, let's say, 10 organizations. So you have a multiplier that is, I think, critical in projects like this. Next slide, please. So our focus, I mean, the focus of the project rather is basically exactly what the Strand 2B is all about. So we are aiming to increase the capacity of regional innovation ecosystems. We are focusing, of course, on less developed regions, on a niche value chains that, in our opinion, hold a lot of potential to be developed. And particularly, we see SMEs as the backbone of the European economy, rather than really large corporations. Our objective is to unlock the innovation potential that we know is there, and that we basically facilitate the integration of these already, in majority of cases, existing business activity into further development, particularly under I3 Strand 1 and Strand 2A. Of course, also considering other opportunities, be it on Interreg, LIFE, or other transnational programs or crowdfunding opportunities. The focus is, of course, the area of smart specialization, and green transition is a common theme that we are pursuing. Next slide, please. I think the innovation of our approach is that we focus on 4 niche pilots that are also related. So in our opinion, energy efficiency and resource efficiency are basically 2 sides of the same coin. Of course, we are very much specifically focused on the energy part, so we will be taking over the digital energy pilot. Renewable gases are, of course, part of the energy sector, but they can also represent a source of sector coupling, feedstock, and also a backbone for other industries. For example, the production of methanol from synthetic methane. Regenerative farming is, of course, one of the first needs that ensures our sustainability and is also a large consumer of energy and chemicals. And of course, eco-construction in terms of waste that is produced by the construction sector, and the fact that buildings account for about 40% of total greenhouse gas emissions. Next slide. So just to sum up, I believe that we were successful because the project is relevant to what the I3 is all about. The measures that we want to implement are efficient and tailor-made to the specific target groups that we are including. The project was developed not because there was a call on I3, but it was basically it was a continuation of our long-term ambitions in terms of our development goals and strategy. as I mentioned before, the wide stakeholder outreach already in the development of the proposal ensures that we will get the impact that we are seeking. And of course, you have to be very ambitious because the call is competitive. So considering that we are really actively trying to get a large number of S3 partnerships to really facilitate the development of new value chains, new partnerships, I think that this is a major selling point. So what I would like to only say at the end, so just 1 minute more maybe, relating our process of how this project was actually developed. So we started basically in the summer of 2022. It started with a meeting with our long-term partner, Energy Institute Hrvoje Požar. So this is basically a project that we started developing before we knew that i3 is actually the program for us. And then we thought about the stakeholder outreach and the value chains that have to be, when we found out about the call, the focus on value chains. And then we included also our partner from Falcon Vision, which are very experienced and have, I think, a unique understanding of the situation on the of less developed regions in Eastern Europe.
Thank you, Nico. Yes.
And just what I would like to emphasize regarding the anyone who's looking to write a proposal, so look out for the letters of endorsement for the partners that are currently involved in the project. There were no problems in getting the letters of endorsement signed on time, but early on we were forced to exclude one of the partners because we learned that the signature from their authority is not completely guaranteed. And I would also like to warn everyone about the budget template. So it was the first time that we experienced basically a new template that is provided specifically for this, that was provided specifically for that call. And we failed to pay sufficient attention, and we lost a lot of time because several macros in the end didn't work. And just so to let you know, start early. And of course, I think it's also very important. The final point I want to make is that besides focusing on Strand 2B with this project, we have simultaneously already been in development of a Strand 2A project that we have applied to the previous call. So it follows our development that we know exactly what we want, we know exactly where we're going and who to include that is necessary in order for us to reach this goal. And with that, I leave you, my contact info is here. If on the final slide, if anyone wishes to contact us, we will be happy to support you and to provide further guidance. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nico, for sharing this very useful information, and many thanks for all your work behind. It's really impressive. And now it's time for the questions. Over to you, colleagues. So it will take a few seconds because the questions you asked on Slido, they will appear here one after the other, and the colleagues who will be answering them, they will appear one by one on the screen. So let's start with the first question. Let's kick off. How many projects were submitted for the previous Strand 2B call? How many of them were approved? The info on the FAT portal is confusing. Colleagues, can you please clarify the data? And if it's confusing, I'm sure we can find a way how to publish it in a more reader-friendly way. Eric, maybe?
Yes. Can you see me? Oh,
no.
No, yet now I think. Indeed. So for last call, we got 44 proposals and we are funding 9 projects. So it's a pretty competitive process.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And you will check the information we have on the portal and on the website. And thank you for the feedback. How to define whether region has what the call defines as specific challenges? What qualifies as such compared to ordinary challenges? I think it's for region colleagues. Tomislav.
Yes, specific challenges are not predefined. That's also a text from the footnote in the call. These challenges can vary, and you are actually encouraged to find what are the common challenges within your regions, and you can go forward with this.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Tomislav. One more question. If there is more than one partner from the same region referring to the same smart specialization body, only one letter of support is requested. Is that right? Yes or no?
Yes, that's correct.
Perfect. Thank you. Is it? We stay with the endorsement letters. They are difficult and sometimes confusing. So Eric, I think it will be on you again. Is it correct that for this call, all endorsement letters should be submitted until the deadline? In early calls, a letter was required only from the coordinator. I think Michael already answered during his presentation, but please, Michael, again over to you.
Yes. Again, one more information. I mentioned also the funding tenders portal where you find all the information for the different projects, but please keep in mind that we're still in a phase where we sign the last grants, and the info of the ongoing or new grants, including 2B, will only be published on the funding tenders once the grant is signed. So if you see now a different number on the funding tender portal, this is maybe to the fact that they have to be published because they're still to be signed. Okay, so it was 44 and 9 grants. This is the result of the first 2B. This is an important information for the endorsement letter. Of course, it's connected to the region. So because there's only then one SV strategy, so of course there's only needed one letter of support. But from the correct regional managing authority, we received many proposals and we found dozens of letters of support. We don't have a look because they are not issued by the correct managing authority. Please, important. And of course, as I already pointed out before, respect the deadline. You see, it's mentioned on the mandatory annex to your application. So deadline counts for that. Okay, and be sure that all the regions represented in the consortium are endorsed. Thank you.
And maybe, Michael, just to complete, sometimes it
Yes,
also
please.
happens that not the managing authority is not the body responsible for smart specialization. There are in certain administration, you have a special body for that. So sometimes you just need to look around, how is it set up in your region, member state. And when I have you here, Michael,
yes,
one more question, I guess, for you.
Okay.
We mentioned, and also Birgit mentioned in the introduction, the support facility, but colleagues and participants can't find it in the TED. The reason is it hasn't been published yet, and we shall publish still this year. Michael, can you maybe develop on that?
Yes, thank you very much. It's a call for tenders, so we talk about public procurement.
Absolutely.
There are many different departments involved. The call document is ready. It will be published as soon as possible. Here we talk about more or less days, and that means the support facility itself should start as early as possible, beginning then next years. This is you can already, there's a prior information notice, and there's also some information in the current work program as well. But please be sure that it will be published as soon as possible in these days. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. You appear there as Erikov, but it's for the colleagues and for the participants, it can be misleading because colleagues are sitting in the same room and are just going from one computer to another. Voila. Michael, I'll leave you the following question as well. Is there any thematic scope that the projects are expected to cover? And what is the link between the usual I33 topics, so green and digital transition and smart manufacture? Could you please explain?
So the so-called thematic priorities are always green, digital, and smart manufacturing. So, and it's not that we then can say, yeah, it has to be digital healthcare or it has to be AI, etc. It really, this is something that depends then on the impact and the relevance and quality of the proposal. This will be evaluated by the independent experts. But have a look also at, this is my recommendation, at the ongoing project. Have a look at the Strand 1 and 2A project, but also at the latest core documents, because as you will see, we talk about these thematic priorities, but we also talk about the so-called specific challenge of the region, but we also talk about the burning challenges mentioned in the new innovation agenda. So this gives you also a kind of more guidance, and have a look at the priority order that we explain in the core document. It's not that we say here it has to be a topic that is not covered. I'm just looking for the page. So you have a look at the page. There's a kind of priority order, but this is the thematic priority, is not the first criteria. This is what I wanted to add here.
Okay, perfect, Michael. I will keep you a bit longer here. I know you each. No, it was Eric. It was Eric Hengsmith, and now the question disappeared. But we had a question. I mean, before the Ukraine, there was a question about the type of regions, if I remember well, whether only less developed regions were eligible or whether the consortium can be mixed. And it was an important question. I'd like to answer this question, because you have it already in the slides, but it's important to highlight it back again. Eric, over to you.
Ukrainian organizations eligible.
No, the
project
consortium.
partners, but as associates.
No, so, Eric, my question, the question that disappeared in the meantime was
they are not eligible for funding, but now
no, there was a different question I was asking.
Associated.
The question is about more less developed regions.
No, I didn't see it here.
So can we go back to the original question, colleagues?
I'm answering for only for less developed regions. I think I covered it. Maybe the question came in before. So we have to have a mix. One of the compulsory conditions of the consortium is to have at least one member of a more developed region. So really to have this knowledge transfer and to the capacity building that reinforces then the less developed regions.
Perfect. Thanks a lot.
I don't know if there's
Thanks a lot. And a similar question before we get to the Ukrainian question. Can a national authority be the coordinator based in transition region, but the proposal focus is for a less developed region of the country? This is a tricky question. I don't know whether Eric, Michael, the other Eric.
If it's a transition region, then it's not eligible. Because the clear the conditions say that the coordinator has to come from a less developed region. So then transitional region is not eligible for the national authority. It has to be coming from a less developed region, the coordinator. Then the members can come from transition or more developed. That's fine.
Perfect. Many thanks. Are the Ukrainian organizations eligible?
So I take that, Denisa. So as we said, these the regions must come from the European Union, and any other region from outside the EU can only participate with their own funding as an associate partner.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. If the most relevant public authority to the scope of the proposal is the member state authority responsible for the smart specialization strategy, is it an eligible partner for this call?
Yes, we have had these cases for some countries, and indeed, there's of course then this partner is eligible, and this is acceptable for us.
And we answered the next question, which is also very relevant and related to the one that you have just answered. If the competent S3 regional national institution is a project partner, should they still provide sign letter support by themselves?
We had this as well, and in that case, we accept. There's no need for endorsement letter, but if they have it, it would be nice at least. But it's not. I mean, we would not declare ineligible, obviously, if it's the region themselves.
And maybe for Regio, does exist on the EU level a list of the smart specialization managing authority? It shall be authorities responsible for smart specialization, because they don't need to be managing authorities, that are officially recognized as such by the European Commission.
What we have at the InfoRegio page is the list of managing authorities. I must say that it's not always the case that the managing authority for ERDF is also the governance body for the smart specialization, but in most cases it is, and it's a good address to start.
Okay. So you would advise applicants to ask first the relevant managing authority so that they could direct them to the right body. Okay, very clear. Thank you, Tomislav. And something that is quite recurrent is about the role of regions and the definition of regions. So is the call targeted to less developed regions only, and what is the definition of less developed regions, and where does it come from?
Something for the colleagues from Regio, or I mean, we can do it as well. Obviously, as we said, it's very important actually that there is a combination of different regions, because we would like moderate regions to support the rest of regions in their efforts. So even if the focus is on less developed regions, having a certain mix is certainly wishful.
No, this is about the mix, but again, this is a cursed question. So the previous question is the call targeted to the less developed regions and only, and what is the definition of these regions?
Yeah, again, thank you very much. So maybe I can complement here or build on that what Eric already pointed out. Yes, it's targeted to less developed regions. The consortium compositions are clear. You have to have the less developed and the more developed in the consortium. The less developed is in the lead in the coordination role. And what is it? What do we understand under less developed? I think this
How do we define them exactly?
Yeah, this is very clear. They are defined as regions whose GDP per capita is less than 75% of the average GDP per capita of the EU 27. Here there's a regulation behind it. It's the number 1060 regulation of 21. And there's Article 108. There you can.
It is the common provision regulation
for
the ERDF and all structurally all shared management funds. So you will find it there. Thank you. Are organizations from transition regions eligible for participation?
Yes, was it? Yeah, from transition. Yes, of course. I mean, as I said,
the question disappeared in the meantime.
Exactly. So, I mean, there's a minimum number of certain regions to be represented, and the coordinator must be from a less developed region, and there must be a minimum of a more developed region. But a transition region can, of course, participate in the consortium if it makes sense. So there are minimum criteria. If you go beyond and you add further regions, this is of course possible.
I will jump a bit the question through, because the first one we answered. This is a cursed one that we tried to answer several times. Just to go back, when we discussed when we answered the question about the definition of less developed regions, somebody is asking whether there is a map of these region categories and where this could be found, because I remember this used to be on InfoRegio. Tomislav, I don't know whether we can still find this map there.
Yes, it should be there. It should be there.
Okay. Yeah. We can share the link maybe in the presentation later on, because this is, and I think we have it sometimes in the, I guess we have it in the call text as well, because this is something that is important. Is it possible to have two regions from the same country in the partnership?
Yes, of course, that is possible. We have that many times actually. So, yeah, yes.
Could this call be related to the development of the tourism sector at the regional level?
So thanks for this question, because it comes back to one of the slides we presented early on, the thematic priorities. For us, it is important that there is a link to the thematic priorities, meaning digital, green, and manufacturing. Obviously, if you think about the tourism sector as an example, there are many overlapping areas, and the tourism sector certainly has an impact on the environment, for example. So for sure, this is something which has to be taken into account. So think about, if you look at the value chains and the sectors, to what extent there's a link to the main thematic priorities. And then, of course, what is important is that the sector you're targeting, including, as an example from the tourism sector, that this sector is the one that is targeted by your region as a smart specialization area. So don't forget that either.
And we go back to a policy question concerning the regional innovation valleys. This call doesn't seem to be promoted under the regional innovation valleys banner. Does it mean that I3 is no longer connected to the regional innovation valleys?
Yeah, that's a question for us. So let's be specific. This call does not take part in the valley labeling process, but the budget of this call supports interregional collaboration activities as foreseen in the new European Innovation Agenda. So not only in the flagship 3, where valleys are mentioned, but the whole new European Innovation Agenda.
Okay, thank you, Tomislav, very clear. Are organizations from transition regions eligible for participation?
I think we answered this, but again, I said with pleasure again. I mean, all the regions are welcome. There's some obviously some minimum criteria in terms of the coordinator being from less developed regions, and minimum one moderate region. But of course, there can be also transition regions in. What is important is that again, these are eligible regions from the EU. And that the organizations are legal entities. So, but it is possible for sure.
Thank you, thank you. Is it still possible to join the GREET CE project, Nico? If he is still with us.
Start. Otherwise, I can start. This is Michael.
You can start. Go ahead.
So, from the formal point of view, the grant started now. It's signed, but as a general information regarding,
in principle,
yes, in principle, there will be normally there might be amendments, because it's also the other way around. One beneficiary leaves the consortium, or something has stopped, or new partners have to become partners of the consortium. So this we do with an amendment. There are rules, there are procedures, there are the justifications. Of course, always all the eligibility conditions of the call behind this project have to be respected. This is one thing. And from the operational point of view, maybe I don't know if Nico is still with us and like to add something. Otherwise, you can contact him after the meeting. You received the slides, and he mentioned his contact details in one of the slides, in the last slide of his presentation.
Thank you, Michael. Very clear. And we remain still similar questions, but I think they are coming back. So let's please take time to answer them. Again, about the endorsement letter. If a partner from a transition or developed region participates, do they need an endorsement letter from the regional national competent authority?
Indeed. So I guess
everybody needs them.
Exactly, everybody needs it, and I think the person that asked the question meant more developed when he said developed regions. So
yes, certainly.
So not only from the less developed regions, which are the focus of the call, but from all regions represented in the applying consortium.
And with this, we had two important questions. Given the number of questions regarding what a less developed region is, whether we can make this information accessible, we will reflect how to make it very clear. Then you can click and get the quick link to the map on the info region. Maybe can be one of the ways we can follow up on that. And that a question that actually we discussed also during the evaluation of the first batch is whether finance investment preparation activities like construction design, permissions, and so on are eligible under the 2B. Colleagues, over to you.
Well, again, we are here in capacity building, and what we want is indeed that in the future, the entities involved are able to submit a Strand 1 or Strand 2 investment project. So in that sense, yes, I mean, preparation activities, yes. But then, of course, equipment, for example, costs and so on might rather be limited, I guess, in this more, capacity building phase. So think about that as well, and carefully read the call document. So we are really in the pre-investment phase here, not yet into equipment and pre-investment.
Thank you. And one more question, and the answer is on slide 24 in the kind of orange square. The coordinator has to be from a less developed region. Yes, it has to be from a less developed region. Okay, you have it on slide 24. Give it a number, this we had. And it's the second one. Is the call budget divided equally between the two cutoff dates? Or is there a possibility that projects in the first cutoff will spend more budget? The idea is to split the budget really equally, and we don't intend to spend more budget during the first cutoff than in the second cutoff. Financial support to third parties is not envisaged in this call. No, it is not, because it's, from those who know Horizon, it's a type of a CSA, this coordination and support action. So we don't envisage any kind of support to third parties in this call. Any other questions, or have we exhausted them? Wow. Can a less developed and a developed region from the same country participate in the same proposal? Yes, they can. I think we had it already we answered it already previously, provided that all the call conditions are respected. Is being part of a consortium always mandatory? If so, what's the minimum number of members required? It's again on the slide 24. Michael, Eric, if you want to go into the details.
Yes, indeed. I mean, here it's clearly is mentioned, as Denise says, so 2 entities from 2 regions, eligible regions, and from 2 EU countries. And also, when you mean being part of a consortium, indeed, you can be as associate partner. In that sense, you're not in the consortium, but you are part of the, let's say, project ecosystem. And there's no funding for not an associate partner.
Yeah. And here really it's about the learning part, about the transfer of capabilities and competencies. And also that's why what we want is, the 2 partners, and we want to have 2 partners, at least 2 partners, and each of them is with a different level of development. So a less developed region, partnering with the more developed regions. This is really the thing behind that. We really share practices. We also allow less developed regions and coordinators or entities from less developed regions to act as coordinators, because to be a coordinator, it's also a function that is not easy in these projects, and it's something that, it's important that partners who have less experience, they have a possibility to gain it. How we can access the slides? So after the session, we will send you all participants the link to the slides, but they will be also on the usual agency ASMEA website. And if there is a public list of funding projects with abstract, this is usually what we are doing. We haven't done yet for this first batch of the capacity building calls, unless I'm mistaken. Eric, Michael, would you remember the timeline?
Yeah. So in terms of, I mean, once the projects are assigned, then it takes a few days until it's on the portal. So I guess that by now, because we have still 3 projects in the Grand Green preparation process, there should be 30 or 31 projects mentioned, including the 6 already running to be projects.
Thank you. This is important. This is interesting. And then very two technical questions, but again, very important. Are the costs to support the travel of associated partners to the consortium meetings eligible, and if so, under which category? We discussed the associated partners here. We are not in Horizon. So the rules are different, the context is different. Please, Eric, Michael, who want to,
Unless
or
if the
Eric
financial
Smith.
colleagues is still there, that would like to mention.
No, but first we need to explain that associated partners.
Yes,
and
of course. I mean, associate partners are not to confuse with the associate countries from Horizon. So here, associate partner really means, and this term also exists on Horizon, but also on the S3 instrument. An associate partner is not eligible for EU funding. They can participate, but they're not party to the consortium agreement, meaning that including their costs for travel, that's one part, that's the question, are not eligible for.
Exactly. Thank you. Is having a public authority as a full partner mandatory?
No. I mean, let's say it's not a hard eligibility criterion, but of course, if you only have companies in the consortium own only one part of the quadruple helix, then the evaluators might question the allocation of or the expertise of the consortium. So it must make sense, and the overall allocation or the composition of the consortium must make sense and must enable the consortium to fulfill the project objectives.
About the TED in the coming days, we will inform you about it, and all the deadlines are the standard deadlines for submitting the proposals. I don't know, Michael, if you have more information about it here, but the info session is not subject of the procurement.
Yes, just I can confirm what you just said. We of course we respect. It's not that we publish it and then a week later we have holidays and after a week after the holidays the submission deadline. We respect this timing. We respect the holiday calendar, but it's some things are not directly under our control. But as mentioned, we have as soon as possible, and then it's the normal minimum 6 weeks plus, of course, the Christmas period, etc. This is what I can already say.
And we have I proposed this is the last question, a bit reformulated concerning the travel cost of associated partners, whether they can be borne by the coordinator.
I mean, this is a way of circumventing the rules. So I'm not sure this is possible, but I would like to check this with the financial colleagues.
I think we would have to check the rules in this case and
Okay.
answer in addition.
Perfect. Thank you, Anna. We have 5 minutes to finish. If there is one more question, we still can take it, or is it all? Please don't also hesitate to share with us any questions you may have during the project preparation. We always have, like for any other calls, we have a dedicated Q&A part in the Tenders portal. You will find there all the questions. We always publish them. We try to answer them regularly. So many answers you will always already find there. But otherwise, you send us your question and we will publish it. So we will never get back to you directly. We will publish it so that everybody has the same information at the same time. We also here, I have the last slide so that I don't forget. What is important for us is to get your feedback. So please don't forget to reply and to fill in our evaluation survey at the end of the session. I hope the session was useful. You learned what you needed about the I3 instrument call on capacity building. It's really, for us, it's an extremely important call, because to build the capacity of less developed regions in particular is helping to not only to participate or to increase their participation in the I3 instrument. This is one of the key tools how to close and to help to close the innovation divide and how to really make maximum out of the innovation potential, because we need everybody on board. We can't afford to leave anybody behind concerning innovation. I think Europe needs it very much. Well, we need you. We are looking forward to receiving as many applications as possible. It was such a pleasure already last time to have so many applications and good quality applications. And usually with every call, the number of application increases and the quality too. So I hope this session helped you to understand, to a bit get on the same line, you know, a bit to get the flavor of the objectives and the key requirements. And also what we try to do is to explain you why the key requirements are there, especially concerning the less developed regions participation, the consortia requirements, and so on. The 3 hours went very quickly. We managed to finish on time. We still have a few minutes left. I wish you a great day, bon appetit, and hope to looking forward to seeing your project's application soon. Goodbye.